Welcome to The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lane. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and local advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lane, here every week talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. And this is, you're into a window right now that is the peak, the best, the sweet spot for planting now through like Thanksgiving is like the best time to be planting trees, evergreen trees, shade trees, mainly the bigger, faster growing trees. So spruce and pine and fir and junipers and cedars and cypress, all of those are good. All the evergreens are good. Also, all the maples and aspens and ash and locusts and oaks, all that famous fall color. This is the time you put them in the ground, and you're putting them in now. They're going to lose their leaves. The deciduous ones are. They're going to turn this fabulous gold or red or orange. They're going to drop their leaves. They're going to hibernate right there in your yard. They're going to continue to elongate roots. Next spring, they're going to pop out, usually starting in March, sometime, depends on the weather. They start popping out and they start growing again. So you get a much larger plant next summer by planting now. Here's an insider tip. Here's the real secret of Southwest or very drought or dry kind of climate planting. It's unique. So where it's real humid, you've got more fudge factor. It's easier. Plants don't dry out. They can keep up. There's humid. They like humidity. Plants can struggle when it's dry. So our most difficult season to grow anything in Arizona, the month of June. June is dry. There's all this tender new growth on the plant. There's a prevailing southwest wind and it's 10% humidity. That is rough on plants. And so every month you can plant before the month of June, the more roots, the more hardy, the stronger that plant's going to be, the more vigor it's going to have to get through that heat of June. And then usually the monsoon rains start to come. So this last July, okay, it was hot for a moment. There was 2 weeks where it was just like, oh my gosh, I never remembered a July like this because everything was slid over by a month. So it was really cold this year, late. I mean, it was cold into May. Things were a month delayed getting started. And then the monsoon started a month later. The entire growing season just kind of shifted a month towards now. Now it's gorgeous. And so usually it's that June to July 4th. Then sometime in July, the monsoons come and the pressure's off. So it's almost another planting season for us. So as soon as the ground becomes rehydrated with the monsoon rains, you can start planting trees and shrubs again. And so June is that secret. The more months you can plant before that heat, the easier it's going to be for you to keep those plants alive. Yeah, you can put on a drip system, but a drip irrigation, it's life support. It barely keeps the plant going through those heats. And then the rain comes, the humidity comes, all of a sudden, oh, these drip irrigations, they're great. It's not the drip irrigation. It's Mother Nature naturally taking care of your landscape. The drip system just simply bridges the gaps between the moisture, the snow, the rain. So plant now. It's a good time to plant. Now, if you're planting now, an insider tip, and I'm sure I'll share this in 3 or 4 or 5 months. In winter, we water here in Arizona. We irrigate plants 12 months out of the year. Now it ebbs and flows how much, but you are going to need if you plant a new spruce tree, a beautiful Christmas tree, a big full, it's got the most spectacular pine trees I've seen in years. They just arrived. They are stunning. They're humongous. The root ball's gigantic. It is even going to need water through winter. It's going to need it because we get dry spells, especially towards the end of the year. And so you're not watering very often. When you do, you're giving it a deep soak. So you're watering maybe starting in November. You're going to water things a couple times a month. That's all it takes because the ground's cooling off, but you're still going to need to do it. The big mistake I find new folks make, especially folks that come where in that Midwest where the ground freezes, there you plant and you leave it alone. because it's planted in ice. It's waiting there in stasis until spring comes and it takes off. Here, there is no stasis. Plants keep rooting literally right through winter. That's the beauty of it. But the pressure is you're going to have to supplement some water in the middle of winter. So you're watering, you put a brand new, let's say aspen or a beautiful blaze maple in the gardens. The stunning red fall colored plant. They're just glorious now through October. It's the fastest growing of the red maples that actually does better here than other maples. Plant it now. Water it maybe a couple times a week until November or so. So by the second week of November, you're pretty much throttling things back. It doesn't have foliage on it. It's now deciduous. That is, it's just the main trunk of that main structure you can see. You might throw a few twinkle lights up there. We tend to have these at the holidays. We got these laser lights that have multiple colors. We shine them up into our blaze maple, and it reflects off of the branches, and it looks like we hung lights up in this ginormous tree. It's a 35-foot tree by 25-foot wide. It's a true shade tree. So you can decorate it, but it's probably at that point when it's losing its foliage, it's kind of the last leaf dropped. You're probably watering that from that point forward. Yeah, well, a couple times a month. That's enough. So a couple times a week when you first put it in the ground, a couple times a month after that. And I've got a water guide. If that's confusing, if you're driving down the road, don't worry. Next time you're on this side of town, stop by Waters Garden Center. I'll give you a water guide. It tells you exactly that. So don't think or go to our website, type in water guide. There's a search bar at the top. It'll pop right up for you. So we're there to help you, but just realize that's a mistake I find mainly Midwest folks make. They put it in the ground, they walk away, they go back to their home in Scottsdale, and they don't think about it again. And it got winter kill or got a little dry during a cold spell. And so the tips tend to burn off. And so you can keep that from happening with just sporadic watering through winter. It's a game changer. Oh, where else was I going? I forgot. Fall to-do list. Oh my gosh, it's time to plant flowers, time to plant shrubs. Oh, the fall colored shrubs are here. There's evergreen shrubs growing up like crazy. If you need a new screen, like privacy screen, you got a great selection of vines, of big showy shrubs. And there's more value to them because back in the spring, they're the same price as they were back in the spring. There's been no inflation from then to here, but they've doubled in size just with new growth. So it's still a 5-gallon plant, but it's twice the size. So you get more plant for the money this time of year. And so you can afford to put an extra one in or two. You can kind of see what they really look like when they're full. Some spectacular Arizona cypress came in. Arizona cypress, a native evergreen. It's the number one plant that we plant for living walls, for screening out that barn across the way, that debris pile, blocking the wind for you folks out in the valley areas. Okay, you plant a few strategically in the southwest part of your property. It will cut the wind down. These are big, 25-foot by 12-foot wide, solid evergreens. They're bigger than your native junipers, more and fuller. And so nice, crisp, like Arizona blue to them. And once they get up to size, you can let them go on their own. They're truly a native plant. So Arizona cypress, great plant. And now is the best time to plant them. It's better than spring. It's easier, hardier, and you're going to get better growth next spring by planting now rather than waiting in spring, because those plants, they root first, then they grow. So if you wait to plant them next spring, they're going to sit there and go, I'm not going anywhere. I'm putting roots down, and then I'm going to grow the following season. So typically conifers, those plants that are evergreen, to most, not all of them, but most of them, they grow in the spring and then that's it. Whatever growth you get out of a pinyon pine, a ponderosa, or Austrian pine, a spruce, a junipers, whatever that grows, how long those branches grow in the spring, that's all you get for the year. So that's why it's so important to plant them now and then fertilize them now. I'll cover that. I'll make sure I cover fertilizing, because this is the most important time of the year, bar none. The most important feeding of the entire year. I'll cover that in depth, maybe at the bottom of the hour. We got to bring Lisa Waters Lane in with your garden questions right after this important message. Be right back.
Whether you're freshening up an existing landscape or starting with a blank slate, the Watters In-Store Garden Consultation is right for anyone.
If you don't know where to start, Watters' personal shopper service allows you to book one-on-one time with an expert without the crowds.
It's easy by phone or through our website. No lines, no waiting.
Purchase a $250 gift card from Watters, and it comes with one-on-one private gardener time.
You're going to love your yard again.
Watters Garden Center in Prescott or wattersgardencenter.com.
You've been listening to The Mountain Gardener with Ken Lane, owner of Watters Garden Center in Prescott. Join him every week for timely garden advice right for the gardens. Visit Ken where he can be found throughout the week at Watters Garden Center in Prescott.